Chapter 25: A Strategic Alliance. The urgency of the situation had reached a crescendo, leaving Mara, Kale, and Alara with no choice but to broaden their scope and seek assistance beyond their immediate circle. The looming assassination plot demanded a broader coalition to confront the escalating threat effectively. The trio understood that they needed allies who could offer not only additional manpower but also valuable intelligence and resources to fortify their efforts. With the stakes higher than ever, forging strategic alliances became a priority as they worked to prevent the disaster that could destabilize the entire region. They began by identifying potential neutral parties who had the means and the willingness to contribute to their cause. This included influential figures and organizations whose interests aligned with maintaining stability in the region. Each candidate was assessed for their reliability and their potential impact on the unfolding crisis. Mara meticulously compiled a list of possible allies, evaluating their strengths and resources, while Kale and Alara engaged in preliminary negotiations to gauge their readiness and commitment. Their efforts soon led them to a variety of key players, each with their own unique capabilities. One group was a network of local leaders with strong community ties, while another consisted of seasoned mercenaries known for their strategic acumen. Engaging these groups required delicate diplomacy, as they had to ensure that their motivations were aligned with the overarching goal of thwarting the assassination plot. Mara's skill in negotiation proved invaluable, as she worked tirelessly to secure their support and articulate the urgency of the situation. As the trio worked to solidify these new alliances, they faced the challenge of integrating their efforts into a cohesive strategy. The allies they had recruited brought different strengths to the table, and it was essential to coordinate their contributions effectively. Kale took on the task of developing a comprehensive plan that leveraged each ally's expertise, ensuring that their combined efforts would form a united front against the conspiracy. The goal was to create a multi-layered approach that addressed both immediate threats and long-term security concerns. The process of aligning these disparate factions was fraught with challenges. Trust had to be established, and concerns about each party's reliability had to be addressed. Alara's experience with covert operations helped in navigating these complexities, as she worked behind the scenes to build rapport and manage any potential conflicts. Her ability to facilitate communication and foster cooperation among the allies proved crucial in maintaining a unified front. With the strategic alliances in place, Mara, Kale, and Alara began to coordinate their efforts with renewed vigor. The combined resources and expertise of their new allies enhanced their ability to respond to the evolving threat. As they continued to work together, their focus shifted from merely gathering information to executing a coordinated response that could effectively neutralize the impending danger. The formation of this strategic alliance marked a turning point in their mission. It was a testament to their ability to adapt and collaborate under pressure, demonstrating the strength of their resolve and their commitment to protecting the kingdoms from the impending catastrophe. As they moved forward, they carried with them the hope that their united efforts would be enough to overcome the threats that loomed on the horizon. Their first step was to identify potential allies who had the power and influence to make a significant impact. The gravity of their mission demanded partners who could contribute not only resources but also strategic advantages. Mara, Kale, and Alara meticulously reviewed various candidates, considering their influence, reach, and potential to sway public opinion or offer critical support. The process involved extensive research and consultations with trusted contacts to determine which factions were most likely to align with their objectives and commit to the cause. After careful deliberation, they decided to reach out to the leaders of several key neutral factions. These were individuals and groups that, while not directly involved in the ongoing conflict, held positions of considerable power and influence. Among them were influential merchants whose trade networks spanned the region, independent leaders with strong community support, and regional governors who commanded respect and authority. Each of these potential allies had the means to mobilize resources or exert influence in ways that could bolster their efforts against the assassination plot. The team began by crafting detailed proposals for each potential ally, outlining the nature of the threat and the urgency of the situation. Mara took the lead in drafting these proposals, ensuring that they were clear, compelling, and tailored to resonate with the specific interests and concerns of each recipient. She highlighted the potential benefits of their involvement, such as enhanced security and stability in the region, and stressed the critical role they could play in averting the impending catastrophe. Once the proposals were prepared, Kale and Elara undertook the task of reaching out to the potential allies. This involved setting up meetings and initiating dialogues that would allow them to present their case and gauge the level of interest and commitment from each faction. The process required a delicate balance of persuasion and diplomacy, as they needed to convey the urgency of the situation while also building trust and demonstrating the credibility of their cause. Their outreach efforts were met with varying degrees of response. Some potential allies were immediately receptive, recognizing the gravity of the situation and expressing a willingness to contribute their support. Others required more convincing, with additional discussions and negotiations needed to secure their commitment. Elara's expertise in covert operations played a crucial role in navigating these interactions, as she helped to address concerns and manage the complexities of each engagement. As the support from these neutral factions began to solidify, the team focused on integrating their new allies into a cohesive strategy. This involved coordinating their contributions and ensuring that each faction's strengths were effectively utilized. Mara, Kale, and Elara worked to create a detailed plan that leveraged the diverse resources and capabilities of their allies, ensuring that their combined efforts would form a unified front against the threat. The process of forming and organizing these alliances was both time-consuming and challenging. It required careful planning, constant communication, and the ability to address unexpected issues as they arose. Despite the obstacles, the progress made in securing the support of these key factions marked a significant step forward in their mission. The enhanced capabilities and resources provided by their allies offered a new level of strategic advantage. With the alliances in place, Mara, Kale, and Elara were better positioned to tackle the escalating threat. The combined strength and influence of their new partners provided a critical boost to their efforts, allowing them to move forward with greater confidence. As they continued to coordinate their actions and refine their strategies, they remained focused on their ultimate goal: to prevent the assassination plot and protect the stability of the region. The formation of these strategic alliances not only enhanced their operational capabilities but also underscored the importance of collaboration and unity in the face of overwhelming challenges. It was a testament to their resourcefulness and determination, demonstrating their ability to adapt and forge crucial partnerships under pressure. As they prepared to confront the imminent danger, they did so with the support of a strengthened coalition, ready to face the trials ahead with renewed resolve. The meeting was scheduled to unfold in a secluded manner on the outskirts of a bustling city, a location selected for its neutrality and discretion. The choice of venue was strategic, aimed at providing a secure and unobtrusive environment for what was expected to be a pivotal discussion. The manor, with its impressive facade and expansive grounds, was ideally situated to host the various factions they hoped to bring into their alliance. Its seclusion offered a reprieve from the prying eyes and ears of those who might seek to undermine their efforts. Mara, Kale, and Elara arrived early, their anticipation palpable as they approached the grand entrance of the manor. Each step toward the imposing doors was marked by a blend of eagerness and apprehension. They were acutely aware of the significance of this meeting and the delicate nature of their presentation. Their early arrival provided them with an opportunity to acclimate to the setting, review their materials, and make any last-minute adjustments to their approach. The grandeur of the manor's interior was immediately striking. The grand hall, with its high ceilings and opulent decor, was adorned with rich tapestries depicting historical scenes and gleaming chandeliers that cast a warm, inviting light. The space, though traditionally used for social gatherings, had been meticulously prepared for the meeting at hand. Tables were arranged to facilitate both discussions and presentations, and a large central table was set up for the presentation of their proposal. As they waited for the arrival of their prospective allies, Mara, Kale, and Elara took the opportunity to review their presentation materials. They had prepared a comprehensive dossier detailing the current threat, their proposed strategy, and the benefits of forming an alliance. Each document was carefully crafted to address the concerns and interests of the various factions they were hoping to convince. Their goal was to present a case that was not only compelling but also aligned with the strategic priorities of their potential partners. The minutes ticked by as they waited, each member of the team engaged in quiet contemplation. Mara meticulously reviewed her notes, Kale studied the latest intelligence reports, and Elara went over the tactical aspects of their proposal. The atmosphere in the grand hall was one of quiet tension, underscoring the gravity of the situation. They knew that the success of their mission depended on their ability to effectively communicate their message and gain the support of influential figures. As the time for the meeting approached, the first of the prospective allies began to arrive. Each guest was greeted by a member of Mara, Kale, and Elara's team and escorted to the meeting space. The arrivals, each representing a different faction with varying interests and influence, were met with a courteous but purposeful reception. The diversity of their backgrounds and perspectives was a reminder of the complexity of the coalition they were attempting to build. With the room now filled with representatives from the key factions, Mara, Kale, and Elara took their positions at the front of the hall. The moment of truth had arrived, and the weight of the upcoming presentation was evident. They had to convey their message clearly and persuasively, ensuring that every point of their proposal was understood and considered. The stakes were high, and the outcome of this meeting could significantly impact their ability to counter the impending threat. As Mara began to present their case, the hall was filled with the hum of attentive whispers and the occasional rustling of papers. She spoke with clarity and conviction, laying out the details of the conspiracy and the urgent need for a united response. Her words were supported by visual aids and documents that illustrated the scope of the threat and the strategic advantages of their proposed alliance. The room was filled with an atmosphere of focused interest and cautious optimism. Throughout the presentation, Kale and Elara provided additional insights and answered questions, their expertise helping to address concerns and build confidence among the attendees. The dialogue was dynamic, with representatives engaging in discussions and seeking clarification on various aspects of the proposal. As the meeting progressed, it became clear that the initial apprehension was giving way to a growing recognition of the necessity and potential benefits of the proposed alliance. By the end of the meeting, the trio had made significant strides in securing the support of several key factions. The discussions had been productive, and the groundwork for a strategic alliance was laid. With renewed hope and a sense of accomplishment, Mara, Kale, and Elara prepared to move forward, ready to leverage the newly formed partnerships in their quest to thwart the assassination plot and protect the stability of the region. One by one, the leaders began to arrive, their presence a mix of formality and guarded interest. Mara, Kale, and Elara, stationed near the entrance, greeted each guest with a combination of respectful courtesy and urgent earnestness. The leaders, representing a diverse array of factions and interests, were shown to their seats around a large, polished table in the grand hall. Their expressions varied from curiosity to skepticism, a reflection of the weight and unfamiliarity of the situation they were about to delve into. The room buzzed with subdued conversations as the guests settled in, casting glances at one another and at the trio standing at the head of the table. The grandeur of the manor's interior, with its high ceilings and elegant decor, stood in stark contrast to the gravity of the discussion about to unfold. The atmosphere was charged with anticipation as Mara prepared to address the assembly, her mind focused on delivering a message that would resonate with the diverse group of leaders. With the room now filled, Mara stepped forward, her posture confident and her demeanor composed. She cleared her throat to capture everyone's attention and began to speak, her voice carrying a tone of both authority and urgency. "Thank you all for coming on such short notice," she started, her words carefully chosen to acknowledge the inconvenience of the gathering while emphasizing its importance. "We are facing a dire threat, an assassination plot that could destabilize both our kingdoms and lead to widespread chaos." As Mara continued, she outlined the gravity of the situation with precision. She detailed the intelligence they had gathered, painting a vivid picture of the conspiracy's scope and the potential consequences of its execution. The leaders listened intently, their initial skepticism giving way to a more focused engagement as they absorbed the seriousness of the threat. The stakes were high, and the need for immediate action was becoming increasingly apparent. "The plot involves multiple operatives across key locations," Mara explained, "and it is set to unfold within the next few days. We have reason to believe that the mastermind behind this scheme holds significant power and influence, which complicates our efforts to counteract it. To effectively thwart this plot, we need to pool our resources and expertise." Her words were met with a murmur of agreement and concern, the leaders' expressions reflecting the dawning realization of the severity of the situation. Cale stepped in to provide additional context, his voice firm and reassuring. "Our goal is to form a strategic alliance that will enable us to neutralize the threat before it can cause irreparable damage. We are not just seeking support, we are asking for your active involvement in a coordinated response. Your influence and resources could be the key to uncovering the full extent of the conspiracy and dismantling it." His emphasis on collaboration resonated with the assembled leaders, highlighting the critical role each faction could play in the effort. Alara then presented a detailed dossier, including maps, documents, and intelligence reports. "We have prepared a comprehensive plan that outlines the immediate steps we need to take," she said, distributing copies of the dossier to the leaders. "The documents contain crucial information on the conspirators' movements and key locations that are integral to their plan. We need your expertise and support to analyze this data and implement a counter-strategy effectively." As the leaders reviewed the materials, discussions began to take shape. Questions were asked, and concerns were raised, but there was a growing sense of consensus. The combination of Mara's compelling presentation, Cale's strategic insights, and Alara's detailed intelligence had created a foundation for collaboration. The leaders, now fully engaged, started to explore how their respective factions could contribute to the alliance and support the mission. By the end of the meeting, the initial skepticism had largely dissipated, replaced by a commitment to unite against the common threat. The leaders agreed to form a coalition, pledging their resources and expertise to the cause. Mara, Cale, and Alara, with a sense of relief and accomplishment, prepared to move forward with their newly formed alliance. The path ahead was still fraught with challenges, but the support of these influential figures provided a crucial boost to their efforts, bringing them a step closer to thwarting the assassination plot and securing the stability of their kingdoms. As Mara meticulously detailed the intricacies of the assassination plot, she laid bare the complexity and scope of the conspiracy. Her presentation included a breakdown of the various operatives involved, their potential targets, and the planned timing of the attack. She highlighted how the assassination was not just a singular event, but a meticulously orchestrated scheme with far-reaching implications for both kingdoms. The room was heavy with the gravity of her words, and the leaders listened intently, their expressions growing more concerned as the details unfolded. With Mara's comprehensive overview setting the stage, Cale stepped in to address the strategic benefits of the proposed alliance. His tone was authoritative yet encouraging, aimed at galvanizing the leaders into action. "Your resources and influence are crucial in this fight," he began, making eye contact with the key figures around the table. His words were deliberate, designed to underscore the importance of their collective effort. "By joining forces, we can pool our strengths, share critical intelligence, and mount a coordinated response that will be much more effective than if we act separately," Cale continued, emphasizing the advantages of a united front. "Each of you holds unique assets that can significantly enhance our ability to counter this threat," he said, gesturing to the leaders. "Whether it's access to intelligence networks, military capabilities, or economic resources, your contributions are essential. By combining our efforts, we can leverage these strengths to address the conspiracy more efficiently and effectively." His words aimed to highlight the synergy that a coalition could bring, making the case for why their collective power was indispensable. He then outlined the specific roles and contributions that each faction could offer. "For instance," Cale pointed out, "some of you have extensive intelligence networks that can help us track the conspirators' movements in real time. Others have the logistical capability to mobilize resources quickly, which will be vital in mounting a swift response to any unfolding events." He mapped out a preliminary plan, suggesting how different factions could collaborate on various aspects of the strategy. Alara, having observed the discussions with a keen eye, added her perspective. "We've already identified key locations and individuals involved in the plot," she interjected. "With your support, we can enhance our surveillance and gather more precise intelligence. This will allow us to anticipate the conspirators' moves and act preemptively." Her contribution underscored the practical steps that could be taken with the Alliance's support, reinforcing the strategic benefits Cale had outlined. The leaders, who had initially been reserved, began to engage more actively as they recognized the potential impact of their combined efforts. Questions were raised about logistics, timing, and coordination, and Cale addressed each concern with clear and strategic responses. The dialogue became increasingly collaborative, with the leaders discussing how best to integrate their resources and expertise into the planned response. As the meeting progressed, a consensus began to form around the necessity of the alliance. The leaders acknowledged the urgency and complexity of the situation and saw the value in pooling their resources and working together. Cale's arguments, combined with Mara's detailed briefing and Alara's tactical insights, had effectively conveyed the benefits of a united approach. By the end of the discussion, the leaders had committed to forming a coalition. They agreed to contribute their resources and collaborate on a strategic response to the assassination plot. The atmosphere in the room shifted from one of skepticism to one of determined cooperation, as the leaders recognized the importance of their collective effort in addressing the imminent threat. With the coalition formed, Mara, Cale, and Alara felt a renewed sense of hope and purpose. The alliance represented a significant step forward in their mission, and the support of the influential leaders promised to strengthen their position in the fight against the conspiracy. As the leaders prepared to depart, the trio began to plan the next stages of their strategy, ready to tackle the challenges that lay ahead with the backing of their new allies. The room buzzed with murmurs as the leaders weighed their options, their voices blending into a hum of thoughtful discussion. The initial skepticism that had characterized the meeting was gradually giving way to serious consideration. As the leaders exchanged views, the urgency of the situation became increasingly apparent. Each faction understood that their collective stability was at stake, and the gravity of the assassination plot made the need for a united front more pressing. The room's atmosphere shifted from one of cautious deliberation to one of focused determination. After some debate, a consensus began to form. The leaders, recognizing the merit of the alliance and the necessity of a coordinated response, started to align themselves with the proposal. The strategic benefits of uniting their resources and expertise were becoming clear, and the shared goal of preventing the impending disaster united their diverse interests. The prospect of facing the conspiracy with a unified effort was slowly replacing the initial hesitation with resolve. One of the leaders, a prominent merchant known for his extensive network and influence, broke through the murmurs with a decisive voice. His experience and reputation lent weight to his words, and the room fell silent as he began to speak. "You make a compelling case," he said, addressing Mara, Kale, and Ilara. His tone was measured but resolute, reflecting the seriousness of the situation. "If this plot succeeds, it will not only bring chaos but also threaten the stability of trade and commerce that we all rely on." The merchant continued, his gaze sweeping across the room to ensure he had the attention of his peers. "We have much to gain from preventing this disaster," he added. His words resonated with the other leaders, many of whom understood the far-reaching implications of the assassination plot on their respective domains. The threat to trade and economic stability was a unifying factor that underscored the importance of their collective action. Encouraged by the merchant's endorsement, the leaders began to express their support for the alliance. They recognized that their individual contributions, whether in the form of intelligence, resources, or influence, were crucial to countering the threat effectively. The conversation evolved into a strategic planning session, with leaders discussing how they could best integrate their efforts and support the united front against the conspiracy. Ilara, observing the shift in the room, took the opportunity to reinforce the urgency of their actions. "With your support, we can implement a coordinated strategy that leverages our combined strengths," she explained. Her insights provided practical examples of how the alliance could operationalize its collective power. She outlined potential roles for each faction, detailing how their specific contributions could enhance the overall effectiveness of their response. As the leaders continued to deliberate, they began to formulate concrete steps for moving forward. They discussed setting up joint task forces, sharing intelligence, and coordinating resources to address the imminent threat. The discussions were marked by a sense of urgency and collaboration, with each leader contributing ideas on how to best combat the conspiracy. The consensus solidified as the leaders agreed on a framework for their alliance. They committed to a shared goal of thwarting the assassination plot and ensuring the stability of their respective realms. The formation of the coalition was seen not just as a strategic necessity, but also as a demonstration of their collective commitment to safeguarding their future. With the alliance established and the leaders prepared to mobilize their resources, Mara, Kale, and Ilara felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The support of the influential figures was a crucial step in their mission, and the coalition's formation marked a significant advancement in their efforts to counter the conspiracy. As the leaders prepared to take their leave, the trio began to finalize their plans, ready to confront the escalating danger with the strength of their newfound alliance. With the decision made, the atmosphere in the grand hall shifted dramatically from one of tension to collaboration. The air was charged with a renewed sense of purpose as the leaders of the newly formed alliance began to focus on actionable steps. The gravity of the threat had galvanized them into a cohesive unit, and the previous skepticism was replaced with a shared determination to confront the imminent danger. The room, once heavy with uncertainty, now buzzed with strategic discussions and coordinated efforts. The newly formed alliance swiftly turned its attention to strategizing. They began to draw up detailed plans for mobilizing their combined resources, each faction leveraging its unique strengths. The leaders coordinated their efforts to ensure that every aspect of their response was covered. This involved creating a framework for information dissemination, logistical support, and tactical operations. The discussions were thorough, covering everything from the allocation of resources to the timing of their interventions. Each ally brought valuable assets to the table, enriching the overall strategy with their distinct capabilities. Intelligence networks shared critical insights and surveillance data, providing a clearer picture of the conspiracy's movements and intentions. Logistical support was organized to facilitate the rapid deployment of resources and personnel where they were most needed. Financial backing was secured to fund the operation, ensuring that their plans would not be hindered by a lack of resources. The collective expertise of the Allies enabled them to craft a comprehensive plan aimed at neutralizing the threat. The Alliance's approach was multifaceted, focusing on both immediate actions to thwart the assassination plot and longer-term strategies to dismantle the conspiracy's network. The plan included coordinated operations to intercept key communications, disrupt the conspirators' plans, and safeguard critical locations from potential attacks. As the Alliance finalized their strategy, each leader took on specific roles aligned with their strengths. Some were tasked with overseeing the intelligence operations, ensuring that every lead was pursued and every piece of information was analyzed. Others focused on logistics, managing the movement of resources and personnel to ensure that the plan could be executed smoothly. Financial experts worked to manage the funding, ensuring that the operation had the necessary financial support to be effective. The collaborative effort brought a sense of unity and focus to the mission, with each member of the Alliance understanding their role and the importance of their contributions. The diverse expertise of the Allies created a robust and adaptable plan, capable of addressing the evolving nature of the threat. The leaders' combined experience and resources provided a powerful countermeasure to the conspiracy's attempts to destabilize the region. With the plan in place, the Alliance set their strategy into motion. The leaders began implementing their coordinated actions, mobilizing their resources, and executing their tasks according to the established framework. The atmosphere was charged with a sense of urgency and optimism as the Alliance worked together to execute their comprehensive strategy. The effectiveness of the Alliance's efforts became evident as they started to see results from their coordinated actions. The threat of the assassination plot began to wane as the Alliance's operations disrupted the conspirators' plans and mitigated the risk to the kingdoms. The unity and strategic planning of the Alliance played a crucial role in countering the imminent danger, restoring a semblance of stability to the region. As the meeting concluded, a palpable sense of relief and optimism filled the room. The leaders, now united by a shared sense of purpose, began to depart with renewed vigor. Mara, Kale, and Alara watched as their prospective allies left the secluded manor, each leader promising their support and committing to the strategic alliance. The departure of the leaders marked the end of a crucial phase and the beginning of a concerted effort to confront the imminent threat. The strategic alliance had proven to be a significant boost to their position, turning what had been a precarious situation into a more manageable one. The newly formed coalition provided Mara, Kale, and Alara with the resources, intelligence, and support they needed to address the rising threat. The strength and unity of the alliance transformed their approach from a reactive stance to a proactive strategy, better equipping them to tackle the conspiracy's complex and far-reaching plans. With their newfound partners, the trio felt a renewed sense of confidence. The Alliance's diverse assets, including intelligence networks, logistical support, and financial resources, offered them a much stronger foothold. The combination of these resources and the collective expertise of the Allied leaders enhanced their ability to safeguard the kingdoms and execute their plans with precision and effectiveness. They now had a formidable team behind them, increasing their chances of success. As they prepared to put their strategy into action, Mara, Kale, and Alara were acutely aware of the stakes involved. The Alliance had provided them with the means to address the immediate threat of the assassination plot, but the true measure of their success would depend on the execution of their plan. The trio understood that their efforts were only as strong as the commitment of their allies and the unity of their front. They needed to leverage every advantage and maintain coordination to achieve their objectives. The process of finalizing and executing their strategy was intense and meticulous. The alliance's plan involved several critical steps, from intercepting communications to securing key locations and mobilizing resources. Each member of the coalition played a crucial role in the operation, and Mara, Kale, and Elara coordinated closely with their allies to ensure that every detail was accounted for. Their combined efforts aimed to neutralize the threat and restore stability to the region. As the day of action approached, the tension in the safe house was palpable. The trio reviewed their plans one last time, ensuring that every aspect was in place and every potential complication addressed. They briefed their allies on the final details and made necessary adjustments based on the latest intelligence. The weight of their responsibility was heavy, but the support of their allies provided a solid foundation for their mission. The upcoming days were critical, and the trio knew that their success would be determined by their ability to execute their strategy effectively. The Alliance's support had given them the resources and strength to face the conspiracy head-on, but the real challenge lay in the precise implementation of their plan. As they prepared for the decisive moments ahead, Mara, Kale, and Elara were determined to leverage their newfound advantages and ensure that their efforts would lead to a positive outcome. Their optimism was tempered by the reality of the situation. The rising threat had not disappeared, it had only become more manageable with the help of their allies. The alliance represented a significant step forward, but the path ahead remained fraught with danger. The trio was prepared to confront the risks head-on, armed with the knowledge that their united front and strategic planning had strengthened their position. As they embarked on the final phase of their mission, Mara, Kale, and Elara embraced the challenge with a sense of purpose and determination. The success of their efforts would depend on their ability to execute their plans with precision and capitalize on the strengths of their alliance. With their allies' unwavering support and their own resolve, they were poised to tackle the conspiracy and protect the kingdoms from the looming threat. Chapter 26: A Dangerous Journey. The dawn of the new day brought with it a renewed sense of urgency for Mara, Kale, and Elara. As the first light of morning filtered through the cracks in their temporary safe house, the trio's focus shifted from negotiation to action. The strategic alliance had been a significant achievement, but the immediate task ahead was to secure an artifact crucial to their mission. This ancient relic, rumored to possess immense power, was said to hold the key to thwarting the assassination plot that threatened their kingdoms. The stakes had never been higher, and the pressure was mounting to retrieve the artifact before it was too late. The artifact, known as the Heart of Alaris, was believed to be hidden in the caves of Alaris, a location steeped in legend and mystery. The caves were situated in a remote and rugged region, far from the safety of the kingdoms they sought to protect. According to ancient texts and whispered lore, the caves were both a place of great power and great danger, guarded by natural obstacles and possibly ancient enchantments. The journey to retrieve the Heart of Alaris would not only test their resolve but also their resourcefulness and courage. Mara, Kale, and Elara gathered their essential gear and reviewed their plan meticulously. They knew that the journey to the caves of Alaris would be fraught with peril, and every detail had to be accounted for. Their preparations included studying maps of the treacherous terrain, gathering supplies for the journey, and ensuring they had the necessary tools to navigate and survive the challenges ahead. They understood that the success of their mission depended on their ability to overcome the dangers of the caves and retrieve the artifact without falling victim to its protective hazards. As they set out on their journey, the trio's determination was palpable. The path to the caves of Alaris took them through dense forests, across rugged mountains, and into the heart of a wilderness that was as beautiful as it was unforgiving. The landscape was both a challenge and a reminder of the enormity of their task. The further they ventured from familiar territory, the more acutely they felt the weight of their responsibility. Their progress was steady, but every step was a reminder of the potential threats that lay ahead. The journey was arduous, and the trio encountered numerous obstacles along the way. From navigating treacherous cliffs to crossing turbulent streams, their progress was constantly tested. They faced natural challenges that demanded both physical endurance and strategic thinking. Despite the difficulties, their resolve remained unshaken. Each obstacle overcome was a testament to their determination and a step closer to their goal. The thought of the artifact's importance fueled their perseverance through the hardships. As they neared the entrance to the caves of Alaris, the anticipation and tension were almost tangible. The caves loomed ahead, a dark and imposing structure against the backdrop of the wilderness. Mara, Kale, and Alara steeled themselves for the final leg of their journey, knowing that the most dangerous part of their quest lay ahead. With their minds focused and their hearts resolved, they prepared to enter the caves, ready to face whatever trials awaited them in their pursuit of the heart of Alaris. As they prepared for their departure, the trio meticulously reviewed their supplies and plans with an air of focused determination. Mara, Kale, and Alara understood that their journey to the caves of Alaris was fraught with peril, and their preparation was crucial to navigating the dangers that lay ahead. The path to the caves was notoriously dangerous, known for its harsh terrain and unpredictable weather. Every detail had to be considered to ensure their safety and the success of their mission. They began by organizing their climbing gear, which included ropes, harnesses, and carabiners. The caves of Alaris were rumored to be situated in a rugged and mountainous region, making climbing equipment essential for traversing steep and unstable ground. Mara meticulously checked each piece of gear, ensuring that everything was in good condition and ready for use. Their ability to scale treacherous paths could mean the difference between success and failure. Next, they packed rations and other essential provisions for the journey. The terrain they were about to traverse would likely be remote and inhospitable, so they needed to be self-sufficient. Alara took charge of assembling the rations, including high-energy foods and water supplies. She carefully calculated their needs, accounting for the duration of their journey and the possibility of unexpected delays. Every item was packed with efficiency, ensuring that their supplies were both compact and comprehensive. Protective equipment was another crucial component of their preparation. The caves of Alaris were rumored to hold hidden dangers, from dangerous wildlife to ancient traps. Kale took responsibility for checking the protective gear, which included sturdy boots, gloves, and weather-resistant clothing. The unpredictability of the weather in the region meant that they had to be prepared for everything from extreme cold to sudden storms. Each item was chosen to provide maximum protection and comfort. Each member of the group had their own specialized skills, and they were determined to utilize them to their fullest extent. Mara's leadership and tactical acumen, Kale's physical prowess and survival skills, and Alara's expertise in deciphering ancient texts and handling delicate equipment made them a formidable team. They discussed their roles and responsibilities in detail, ensuring that everyone was clear on their tasks and ready to contribute their strengths to the mission. As they finalized their preparations, the trio felt a shared sense of purpose and anticipation. They knew that the journey to the caves of Alaris would be challenging, but their thorough preparation and mutual trust provided a solid foundation for their success. With their supplies packed and their plans set, Mara, Kale, and Alara were ready to embark on their perilous quest, determined to retrieve the artifact and overcome the trials that awaited them. The journey began with a steady pace as Mara, Kale, and Alara ventured through dense forests and rugged hills. The early part of their trek was relatively straightforward, with the forest offering a canopy of shade and the hills providing manageable inclines. The terrain was familiar and navigable, allowing them to move efficiently as they made their way toward the more challenging sections of their route. The tranquility of the forest provided a deceptive calm, making it easy to underestimate the difficulty of the journey ahead. However, as they approached the foothills leading to the caves of Alaris, the terrain grew increasingly unforgiving. The once gentle slopes transformed into narrow paths and steep inclines that tested their physical endurance and mental resolve. The transition from forest to foothills brought a marked increase in difficulty, with the ground becoming loose and unstable underfoot. The group had to carefully place each step, balancing their weight to prevent slips and falls. The gradual shift from manageable terrain to harsh conditions was a stark reminder of the trials they would face in their quest. Sudden weather changes further complicated their progress. The sky, which had been clear and sunny, darkened unexpectedly, bringing a heavy, unseasonable downpour. Rain quickly turned the path into a treacherous muddy slope, making every step a challenge. The temperature dropped, adding a biting chill to the already difficult conditions. The trio had to adapt quickly, donning their weather-resistant clothing and moving cautiously to avoid getting stuck or injured. The elements seemed determined to test their resolve, but they pressed on, driven by their mission. Cale took the lead in navigating the treacherous landscape, his keen strategic mind proving invaluable in these difficult conditions. He used his knowledge of terrain and weather patterns to find the safest routes through the foothills. His experience in dealing with challenging environments allowed him to assess potential hazards and make quick decisions to circumvent them. Whether it was avoiding unstable rock formations or finding the best footing on slippery slopes, Cale's leadership ensured that the group stayed on course and minimized their risks. Mara and Elara followed closely behind, their focus shifting from the physical exertion of climbing to the strategic importance of their journey. Mara kept an eye on their progress, ensuring that they remained on track and that Cale's chosen paths were leading them in the right direction. Elara, though less experienced in physical challenges, provided valuable support by helping with navigation and monitoring their supplies. Their combined efforts and trust in Cale's leadership made them a cohesive team, capable of overcoming the obstacles that lay before them. As they continued their ascent, the group's determination was tested by the unforgiving landscape and harsh weather. Each step forward required both physical effort and mental fortitude. Despite the increasing difficulty, the trio remained focused on their goal, the retrieval of the artifact and the success of their mission. The journey was proving to be as demanding as they had anticipated, but their unity and resilience kept them moving forward, inching closer to the caves of Alaris with every arduous step. As night fell, the temperature plummeted, turning the once manageable journey into a grueling ordeal. The chill in the air was biting, cutting through their clothing and numbing their fingers and toes. The darkness seemed to magnify the difficulties of the terrain, with shadows dancing eerily across the uneven ground and obscuring potential hazards. Each step became more laborious as the cold sapped their strength, and the treacherous path demanded careful navigation. Mara, whose resilience had been honed by countless trials, focused on keeping their morale high amidst the harsh conditions. Her leadership and determination became a beacon for her companions, her presence a reminder of their shared goal. She offered encouraging words and kept their pace steady, her own fatigue masked by her resolve. Mara's unwavering determination served as a motivational force, inspiring her team to push through the exhaustion and continue their ascent despite the worsening weather. Elara, ever resourceful and seasoned by her knowledge of ancient lore, played a crucial role in guiding them through the most perilous sections of the path. Her experience with old maps and historical clues became invaluable as she deciphered the best routes to follow. She used her expertise to navigate by the stars and interpret the signs of the land, drawing on her previous experiences to steer them clear of dangerous spots. Her insights helped mitigate some of the risks posed by the darkness and cold, providing a glimmer of hope in the midst of their struggle. Despite Alara's guidance, the path remained unforgiving. The steep inclines and rocky outcrops were now coated in a thin layer of ice, making every step precarious. The darkness amplified their sense of isolation, and the biting wind howled through the night, adding to the sense of urgency and discomfort. The physical and emotional strain was evident, but the trio's determination remained resolute. They knew that each step forward was a step closer to their objective, and that kept them moving. As the night wore on, the group took brief, strategic pauses to rest and regroup. Mara used these moments to check on her companions, ensuring they were adequately protected from the cold and not suffering from exhaustion or frostbite. Alara continued to provide direction, her calm demeanor helping to counteract the stress of the situation. Cale, though equally worn, maintained his focus on the path ahead, his strategic mind working to anticipate any additional challenges they might face. The combination of Mara's steadfast leadership, Alara's expertise, and Cale's strategic planning helped them persevere through the night. Each member of the team contributed their strengths, creating a balance that kept them moving forward despite the harsh conditions. Their unity and determination drove them onward, fueling their hope that they would soon reach the caves of Alaris and retrieve the artifact that was critical to their mission. The following morning brought with it a much-needed breakthrough as the trio neared the entrance to the caves of Alaris. The landscape had undergone a dramatic transformation overnight, evolving into a breathtaking and awe-inspiring scene. Towering rock formations loomed over them, their sheer, weathered walls carved by centuries of natural forces into a rugged and imposing silhouette. The sight was both majestic and intimidating, a vivid testament to the raw power of nature and the significance of their quest. The entrance to the caves was now visible, framed by these colossal rock structures. The dark mouth of the cave yawned like an ancient sentinel, a stark contrast to the bright morning sky. The sheer scale of the rock formations made the cave entrance seem even more foreboding, as if it were guarding secrets that had been hidden away for eons. The grandeur of the scene was accompanied by a sense of urgency. The significance of their mission was underscored by the grandeur and peril of their surroundings. As the trio approached the cave, they paused to take in the breathtaking view and to steel themselves for the challenges that lay ahead. The journey to this point had been grueling, but the sight of the cave entrance reinvigorated their spirits. The enormity of their surroundings served as a powerful reminder of the importance of their mission, providing a renewed sense of purpose. They understood that what lay beyond these ancient walls could very well determine the outcome of their struggle against the impending threat. Mara, Cale, and Alara took a moment to regroup and prepare for the final leg of their journey. They reviewed their supplies, ensuring that they had everything they needed for the descent into the cave. Each member of the team took on a specific task. Mara checked their climbing gear and torches, Cale scanned the surrounding area for any signs of danger, and Alara consulted her notes on the cave's layout and any known traps or obstacles. Their preparation was meticulous, reflecting their commitment to overcoming the impending challenges. The atmosphere around them was charged with anticipation and a sense of reverence for the ancient site they were about to enter. The early morning sun cast long shadows over the entrance, adding to the cave's mystique. The trio knew that the artifact they sought was somewhere within this formidable labyrinth, and their focus sharpened as they mentally prepared for the obstacles they would face inside. They had come this far through determination and teamwork, and now, as they stood before the entrance, their resolve was as solid as the rock formations surrounding them. With everything in place and their minds focused, Mara, Cale, and Alara took a deep breath and stepped toward the entrance of the caves of Alaris. The air grew cooler and more stagnant as they crossed the threshold, the sounds of the outside world fading away into an eerie silence. As they ventured deeper into the cave, the grandeur of the entrance was left behind, replaced by the dark, winding passages that promised both danger and discovery. Their quest was about to reach a critical juncture, and the trio braced themselves for the trials that awaited them in the depths of the ancient cave. Inside the caves, the atmosphere changed dramatically from the cold, biting air of the outside world to the damp, musty interior illuminated only by the flickering light of their torches. The cavernous expanse stretched out before them, the darkness seeming to swallow their voices as echoes danced off the stone walls. Each step they took reverberated through the still air, amplifying the sense of isolation and mystery that enveloped them. The cave's oppressive silence was punctuated only by the occasional drip of water from the stalactites above, a reminder of the cavern's ongoing, slow transformation. The trio moved cautiously through the winding passages, their senses finely tuned to detect any sign of danger. The uneven ground was treacherous, with patches of slick, algae-covered rocks that threatened to send them sprawling. Mara led the way, her eyes scanning the dimly lit path for potential hazards. Cale followed closely behind, his attention focused on the structural integrity of the cave and any signs of instability. Elara brought up the rear, her knowledge of ancient lore guiding them past inscriptions and symbols that hinted at the cave's hidden traps. Natural obstacles were a constant challenge as they progressed deeper into the cave. The narrow passages forced them to squeeze through tight spaces, their movements slow and deliberate. Sudden drops in the terrain required careful navigation to avoid falling into unseen chasms. Each obstacle was a test of their teamwork and resourcefulness, with Mara and Cale working together to assess and mitigate risks while Elara provided insights into the cave's layout and possible dangers. Their torches cast long, flickering shadows on the walls, creating an eerie dance of light and darkness that heightened their sense of apprehension. The oppressive dampness of the cave clung to their clothes and skin, making the air feel thick and heavy. Despite their efforts to stay vigilant, the cave's natural labyrinth seemed to play tricks on their perception, with every turn and twist adding to the disorientation. Despite the challenges, their determination never wavered. Each member of the team contributed their skills to overcome the obstacles, their trust in one another solidified by their shared experiences. The path they followed was a testament to their resilience, each step forward a victory against the physical and mental strains of their journey. The deeper they went, the more they felt the weight of their mission, but it also strengthened their resolve to reach the heart of the cave and secure the artifact. As they pressed on, the cave seemed to grow more complex, with the passages becoming increasingly convoluted. The flickering torchlight revealed ancient carvings and symbols on the walls, remnants of a bygone era that hinted at the cave's storied past. The sense of history and the gravity of their quest combined to push them forward, each member of the trio driven by the knowledge that their success hinged on navigating this treacherous subterranean world and retrieving the crucial artifact that lay hidden within. After hours of navigating the labyrinthine tunnels, Mara, Cale, and Elara finally emerged into a vast, cavernous chamber where the artifact was rumored to be hidden. The sheer scale of the room was breathtaking, with high ceilings lost in shadow and walls adorned with intricate carvings and ancient symbols that hinted at the artifact's immense significance. The carvings depicted scenes of reverence and power, their faded colors suggesting that the artifact held a central place in the ancient culture that had once revered it. The chamber was an awe-inspiring testament to the craftsmanship and mystique of its creators, setting the stage for the critical task that lay ahead. At the center of the chamber stood a raised altar, its surface draped in dust and shadows. According to legend, the artifact rested atop this altar, waiting to be claimed by those deemed worthy. As Mara, Cale, and Elara approached the altar, their anticipation was tempered by the knowledge that the path to the artifact was fraught with danger. The chamber's atmosphere was thick with an oppressive silence, broken only by the soft echoes of their footsteps and the occasional drip of water from the cavern's ceiling. The air was heavy with the weight of history and the looming challenge that awaited them. Their careful approach was soon met with a series of sophisticated traps designed to protect the artifact from uninvited guests. The first trap they encountered was a hidden pressure plate that, when triggered, would release a volley of sharp, deadly darts from concealed slits in the walls. Mara's sharp eyes noticed the faint outline of the plate just in time, allowing them to sidestep the danger and move forward. The traps continued to test their resolve, scything blades hidden behind false walls, pits covered by deceptive walkways, and shifting tiles that required precise timing and coordination to navigate safely. With each trap, Mara, Kale, and Elara worked in unison, their movements synchronized through a blend of practiced skill and intuitive teamwork. Kale's strategic mind assessed each new threat, devising a plan of action, while Mara's agility and quick reflexes handled the physical execution. Elara's knowledge of ancient mechanisms proved invaluable as she deciphered the complex designs and triggered hidden levers that deactivated some of the more insidious traps. Their combined expertise and steady nerves allowed them to advance steadily, each step closer to the artifact heightening their focus and determination. The final obstacle before reaching the altar was a massive, intricate puzzle embedded in the floor, its solution concealed beneath a series of rotating stones that needed to be aligned in a specific pattern. This final test required all of their skills to solve, as they worked together to decipher the ancient symbols and align the stones correctly. Elara's knowledge of ancient lore played a crucial role in interpreting the puzzle solution, while Kale's precision and Mara's quick thinking ensured that they completed the task without error. Having successfully bypassed the traps and solved the final puzzle, the trio approached the altar with a mixture of relief and exhilaration. The artifact lay before them, a relic of immense power and historical importance. As they gazed upon it, they could feel the weight of their journey and the significance of their mission. Their combined efforts had brought them to this moment, and with the artifact now within reach, they prepared to secure it and make their way back through the treacherous caves, knowing that their success in retrieving the artifact was a crucial step toward thwarting the assassination plot and protecting their kingdoms. As Mara gently lifted the artifact from its resting place on the altar, a profound sense of accomplishment and relief washed over the trio. The ancient relic, now securely in their possession, glowed faintly in the dim light of their torches, its significance evident in its intricate design and craftsmanship. The weight of the artifact in her hands symbolized the culmination of their arduous journey, a testament to their endurance and determination in the face of countless obstacles. The danger and difficulty they had overcome only added to the artifact's value, making their success all the more rewarding. With the artifact safely stowed away, Mara, Kale, and Elara took a moment to regroup and reflect on their achievement. The harsh conditions of their trek, the traps they had narrowly avoided, and the labyrinthine tunnels had tested their resolve and strength. Yet, despite the grueling nature of their quest, they had emerged victorious. This victory was not just a personal triumph, but a crucial step in their mission to thwart the assassination plot that threatened their kingdoms. The artifact's recovery was a beacon of hope amidst the looming crisis. The knowledge that they now possessed a key element to counter the impending threat invigorated their spirits. As they prepared to navigate their way back through the treacherous caves, their earlier fatigue seemed to lift, replaced by a renewed sense of purpose and determination. The journey ahead, while still fraught with challenges, felt more manageable with the artifact in their possession. Each step they took was fueled by the conviction that their efforts would significantly impact the fate of their kingdoms. The trials they had faced along the way had forged a stronger bond among them. Mara, Kale, and Elara had relied on each other's skills and courage to overcome the dangers of their journey, and their unity had become a powerful force. The experience had tested their limits, but also highlighted their strengths, making them more resilient and cohesive as a team. This newfound strength was crucial as they anticipated the next phase of their mission and the challenges that awaited them. As they emerged from the caves and into the light of day, the landscape before them seemed to hold promise and possibility. The harsh realities of their journey had given way to the clarity of their objective: to use the artifact to prevent the assassination and restore stability to their kingdoms. Their task was far from over, but they were now better equipped to face the forthcoming trials. The artifact was a symbol of their progress and a tangible representation of their commitment to their cause. With the artifact secured and their spirits high, Mara, Kael, and Alara began their return journey with a renewed sense of urgency and resolve. They knew that their next steps would be critical in implementing their plans and ensuring that the artifact's power was harnessed effectively. The road ahead would undoubtedly present new challenges, but their successful retrieval of the artifact had solidified their determination and unity, preparing them to confront the remaining dangers and ultimately achieve their goal of thwarting the assassination plot. Chapter 27: A Test of Trust. The sun had barely risen when Mara and Kael finally arrived back at their safe house, the early light just beginning to pierce through the fog that clung to the morning air. They were physically drained, their bodies aching from the grueling trek through the treacherous terrain of the caves of Alaris. Despite their exhaustion, a sense of triumph accompanied them, as they had successfully retrieved the artifact crucial to their mission. Its weight in Mara's pack was a constant reminder of both their accomplishment and the monumental task that lay ahead. Inside the safe house, the atmosphere was charged with a mixture of relief and anticipation. The artifact, an ancient relic of immense power, was now stored in a secure location, its significance a source of both hope and anxiety. Mara and Kael took a moment to catch their breath, the exhaustion evident in their weary faces, but their spirits were buoyed by the knowledge that they had achieved a critical objective. The sense of victory was tempered by the realization of the immense responsibility now resting on their shoulders. As they settled into their routine, the palpable tension that filled the room was a stark contrast to the quiet solace they had hoped for. The safe house, usually a haven of peace, now seemed to hum with an undercurrent of unease. Mara and Kael exchanged glances, their unspoken concerns reflecting the gravity of their situation. The artifact's arrival had marked a pivotal moment in their mission, but it also signaled the beginning of new challenges they had not yet fully anticipated. The weight of the artifact, both literal and metaphorical, pressed heavily on their minds. The stakes had been raised, and with it came the realization that their success had drawn them deeper into a web of danger and intrigue. The tension in the air was not just a result of their physical exhaustion but also the mounting pressure of the impending tasks that lay ahead. They knew that their next moves would be critical in securing their victory and protecting their kingdoms. In the quiet of the safe house, Mara and Kael reviewed their plans, their conversations punctuated by the occasional clink of metal against wood as they prepared the artifact for safekeeping. The process was methodical, but the underlying tension was undeniable. Each action was performed with a heightened sense of urgency, a reminder that their mission was far from over. Their thoughts were preoccupied with the potential threats that loomed, and the artifact's presence only added to the gravity of their situation. As the morning wore on, the safe house's usual calm was overshadowed by a growing sense of foreboding. The once familiar surroundings seemed to close in on them, amplifying the uncertainty of their circumstances. The artifact's power was a double-edged sword. While it held the promise of thwarting the assassination plot, it also made them a target for those who would stop at nothing to claim it. The path to their goal was now fraught with new obstacles and heightened dangers. With their routine established and the artifact securely in place, Mara and Kael knew they had to confront the emerging challenges head-on. The sense of triumph from their successful retrieval of the artifact was tempered by the awareness that their journey was far from complete. The new challenges that awaited them demanded not just their physical strength but also their mental fortitude. As they prepared for the next phase of their mission, the air in the safe house remained thick with anticipation and the ever-present weight of responsibility. The atmosphere in the safe house took a sudden and unsettling turn when a trusted ally arrived with urgent news. The ally, visibly distressed, hurriedly relayed a series of alarming revelations that shattered the fragile sense of security Mara and Kale had been clinging to. The details were frustratingly vague, but the underlying message was clear. There were whispers of betrayal and shifting loyalties among their circle of supporters. The news was like a cold splash of water, abruptly waking them from the euphoria of their recent success. As the ally spoke, the weight of the information settled heavily over Mara and Kale. They listened intently, their expressions growing darker with each new tidbit of unsettling news. The mention of betrayal within their ranks cast a long shadow over the triumph of retrieving the artifact. Mara's mind raced, grappling with the implications of such treachery. The idea that someone they had trusted implicitly might be undermining their efforts was a bitter pill to swallow, casting doubt on everything they had worked for. The revelation struck Mara and Kale hard, their previous confidence wavering in the face of this new threat. They had prepared for external dangers, for the cunning of their enemies and the challenges of their mission, but the notion that their own allies could be involved in deceit was a devastating blow. Their recent victory, which had seemed like a turning point, was now tainted by the possibility of internal sabotage. The sense of accomplishment was overshadowed by the stark reality of distrust among their closest supporters. Mara's hands clenched into fists, as she struggled to contain her frustration and anger. The realization that their efforts might be compromised by those they had believed to be steadfast allies was a heavy burden. The challenge now extended beyond the external threats they had been facing. They had to confront the possibility of treachery within their own ranks. The task of uncovering the truth and securing their position had become infinitely more complex. Kale's face was a mask of grim determination as he absorbed the news. His strategic mind immediately began to churn, weighing the potential implications of the betrayal. He knew they needed to act quickly to assess the loyalty of their allies and address the threats from within. The notion of shifting loyalties was not just a distraction but a potential catastrophe that could unravel everything they had achieved. Their immediate focus had to shift from their plans to the internal security of their team. The atmosphere in the safe house grew tense as Mara and Kale shared their concerns with Alara, who listened intently, her own expression reflecting the gravity of the situation. The trio began to strategize on how best to identify and neutralize any threats from within. They understood that their next steps were crucial not only for the success of their mission, but also for the safety of their entire operation. The thought of betrayal was a new enemy they had to confront, and it required careful handling to prevent further damage. As they concluded their meeting with their ally, the safe house was filled with a heavy silence. The news of potential betrayal had shifted their priorities and heightened their sense of urgency. They had to navigate this new challenge while continuing to advance their mission. With their confidence shaken but their resolve undeterred, Mara, Kale, and Alara prepared to address the internal threat, knowing that their ability to overcome this new obstacle would be crucial in securing their ultimate victory. As they convened to address the growing concerns, it quickly became apparent that conflicting interests were beginning to surface among their allies. The room, once a place of strategic planning and unity, was now charged with tension and discord. One faction's leader, known for his influential network, had openly criticized their strategy, accusing Mara, Kale, and Alara of overreaching and endangering his own interests. His voice, laced with irritation, cut through the discussions like a knife, highlighting the fragility of the alliance they had worked so diligently to build. Mara's frustration grew palpable as she listened to the dissenting voices around her. The criticism felt like a personal attack, undermining their hard-fought progress and questioning their commitment. Her patience, already stretched thin by the weight of their mission and the recent betrayal, began to fray. The leaders' accusations were not only a blow to their strategic plans but also a stark reminder of how easily their allies' loyalty could be swayed by self-interest. The atmosphere was thick with the potential for escalation, and Mara struggled to maintain her composure. The faction leader's discontent was echoed by murmurs of agreement from others in the room, amplifying the growing rift. The accusations stirred a whirlwind of doubts and accusations, each voice adding to the cacophony of grievances. The criticism, which had started with a single dissenting leader, began to gather momentum, threatening to fracture the fragile coalition. The room, filled with once supportive allies, was now a battleground of conflicting interests and personal agendas. Cale, his face set in a grim line, stepped forward to address the mounting tension. His strategic mind raced as he attempted to mediate the dispute and restore some semblance of order. He carefully laid out the potential consequences of abandoning their current strategy, and emphasized the importance of unity in the face of their common enemy. His voice, though calm and measured, carried an undercurrent of urgency. He knew that if they couldn't reconcile their differences, their mission, and the safety of their kingdoms, was in jeopardy. Elara, who had been observing the turmoil with a keen eye, took a moment to offer her perspective. Drawing on her deep knowledge of their opponents and the stakes involved, she tried to shift the conversation back to the collective goal. Her attempts to bridge the gap between the dissenting factions and the core team were met with mixed reactions. Some listened with interest, while others remained entrenched in their positions. The division was not easily mended, and the cracks in their alliance seemed to widen with every passing minute. As the meeting dragged on, the tension became almost palpable. Mara's sense of urgency grew as she realized the potential for their carefully constructed alliance to crumble. The once strong coalition was now a patchwork of conflicting agendas and mistrust. She knew that time was of the essence, and that they needed to address the dissent quickly to prevent the alliance from disintegrating further. Their success hinged not only on their ability to execute their mission but also on their capacity to maintain cohesion among their allies. The meeting ended with no clear resolution, leaving Mara, Cale, and Elara to grapple with the fallout. The discord had laid bare the precarious nature of their alliance, and underscored the difficulty of uniting disparate factions with competing interests. As they regrouped, the weight of the situation pressed heavily on them. The path forward was fraught with challenges, and they needed to navigate the turbulent waters of betrayal and conflicting interests if they hoped to achieve their ultimate goal. Cale, always known for his strategic acumen, took on the challenge of mediating the escalating conflict with a sense of urgency. His approach was methodical and composed, aiming to address the dissenting voices with reasoned arguments and potential solutions. However, his attempts were met with skepticism and resistance from several factions. The leaders were entrenched in their positions, unwilling to accept compromise or reassess their priorities. Cale's words, although carefully chosen and backed by logic, seemed to bounce off the walls of a growing distrust and frustration. The once solid trust within their coalition was visibly fraying under the pressure of conflicting interests. What had started as a united front against a common threat was now showing signs of disintegration. The initial cracks in their alliance had widened into deep fissures, with accusations and counterarguments flying freely. Each faction clung to its own agenda, and the cooperative spirit that had initially bound them together was rapidly eroding. The alliance, which had been their greatest asset, was now in jeopardy, undermining their efforts to combat the assassination plot. As the argument grew more heated, the atmosphere in the room became increasingly charged. Leaders on both sides defended their positions with fervor, their voices rising in a cacophony of discontent. The discussions, which had begun with a focus on strategy and unity, had devolved into a battle of wills. The tension was palpable, and the sense of urgency that had driven their mission seemed to be overshadowed by the internal strife. Each side was adamant about its stance, making it difficult to find common ground or reach a consensus. The strain on Mara and Cale's relationship was evident as they worked to navigate through the turbulence. Their mutual support, once a cornerstone of their partnership, was being tested in the crucible of this crisis. Mara's frustration with the dissenters was mirrored by Cale's growing sense of helplessness. They exchanged looks that spoke volumes about the pressure they were under, their usual camaraderie strained by the weight of the situation. The burden of keeping the coalition intact and pushing forward with their mission was taking a toll on their personal dynamic. Despite their best efforts, the growing discord began to overshadow their strategic discussions. The argument continued to spiral, with no immediate resolution in sight. Mara's attempts to mediate and refocus the group on their shared objectives were increasingly undermined by the personal agendas and grievances of their allies. The prospect of losing the coalition's support was a stark reminder of how fragile their alliance was, and it highlighted the difficulties of leading a diverse group with disparate interests. As the meeting dragged on, the frustration and exhaustion of the trio became more apparent. Mara and Cale, while still committed to their cause, struggled to maintain their composure amidst the chaos. The emotional toll of the conflict, combined with the looming threat of the assassination plot, created a challenging environment for effective leadership. Their ability to address the dissent and preserve the alliance was critical, but the path forward was fraught with obstacles that seemed to multiply with each passing hour. With the meeting finally adjourned, the sense of unease lingered long after the leaders had departed. Mara and Cale were left to contend with the aftermath of the discord and the uncertainty of their next steps. The unity of their coalition was in question, and their mission to thwart the assassination plot now faced an additional layer of complexity. The challenge of repairing the fractured alliance and reinvigorating their collective resolve would be a crucial test of their leadership and determination. In the midst of the growing turmoil within their ranks, a dramatic and shocking turn of events unfolded that left Mara and Cale reeling. A trusted confidant, someone who had been pivotal in their recent successes and a linchpin of their strategic efforts, was suddenly implicated in the betrayals. The accusation, delivered with unsettling clarity, accused this ally of covertly undermining their mission. The revelation struck like a thunderclap, casting a dark shadow over their recent achievements, and sparking a wave of disbelief and anxiety. The news of the betrayal hit Mara and Cale hard, leaving them grappling with the possibility that their trusted confidant had been working against them all along. This individual had been more than just a collaborator, they had been a key player, providing crucial intelligence and support. The idea that someone so integral to their operations might have been involved in sabotaging their efforts was a bitter pill to swallow. The realization forced Mara and Cale to confront a painful truth: their circle of trust was not as secure as they had believed. With the accusation hanging heavy in the air, Mara and Cale were faced with the immediate task of reassessing their allies and the integrity of their mission. The betrayal not only undermined their confidence but also cast a pall of suspicion over everyone within their network. They needed to reevaluate who could be trusted and who might be working with hidden agendas. This process of scrutiny and reassessment was fraught with difficulty, as it involved questioning the very foundation of their alliances and the reliability of their own judgment. As they delved into the investigation, Mara and Cale found themselves ensnared in a web of deceit and conflicting loyalties. The once clear lines between friend and foe had become blurred, complicating their efforts to identify the true extent of the betrayal. They had to navigate through layers of misinformation and hidden motives, making it increasingly challenging to discern who was genuinely committed to their cause and who was part of the treacherous conspiracy. The process was painstaking and emotionally draining, as it forced them to confront the uncomfortable reality of betrayal from within. The fallout from the accusation also had a profound impact on the morale of their team. Trust, once a cornerstone of their operations, was now in tatters. The sense of unity and purpose that had driven them was replaced by a pervasive sense of paranoia and doubt. Mara and Cale had to work tirelessly to maintain the cohesion of their remaining allies while dealing with the internal fracture caused by the betrayal. This task required not only strategic acumen but also a delicate touch to manage the emotional fallout and restore a semblance of confidence. As they continued their investigation, Mara and Cale were acutely aware that the betrayal had far-reaching implications for their mission. The integrity of their plans and the success of their efforts to thwart the assassination plot were now under serious threat. Every decision they made had to be weighed with greater caution, knowing that their ability to confront the conspiracy depended on their capacity to navigate the treacherous waters of deception and mistrust. The stakes had never been higher, and the challenge of overcoming this internal crisis was as critical as the external threat they faced. Despite the overwhelming nature of the situation, Mara and Cale remained resolute in their commitment to their mission. They understood that to overcome the betrayal and restore their mission's integrity, they had to be both vigilant and strategic. The path forward was fraught with challenges, but they were determined to uncover the truth and reforge their alliances. Their ability to adapt and lead through this crisis would be crucial in determining the ultimate success of their efforts and the safety of the kingdoms they swore to protect. Despite the deepening doubts and the fractures within their alliance, Mara and Cale remained resolute in their mission. The gravity of their primary objective, the need to thwart the assassination plot and ensure the safety of their kingdoms, was far too critical to be derailed by internal strife. They understood that the success of their mission depended not only on their ability to confront external threats but also on their capacity to address the betrayals and conflicts within their own ranks. This unwavering focus on their overarching goal provided them with a clear sense of purpose, even in the midst of uncertainty. Determined to address the internal discord head-on, Mara and Cale resolved to confront the betrayals with a strategic and decisive approach. They knew that restoring trust and unity among their allies was essential for maintaining a cohesive front against the assassination plot. This involved a careful and methodical process of identifying the sources of betrayal, addressing grievances, and rebuilding relationships that had been strained by suspicion and discord. They were prepared to engage in difficult conversations and make tough decisions to ensure that their coalition remained strong and effective. The road ahead promised to be fraught with challenges, each one a test of their leadership and their ability to navigate complex interpersonal dynamics. The fractures within their alliance were not easily mended, and the process of restoring trust would require both time and effort. Mara and Cale understood that they needed to balance their immediate tactical needs with the long-term goal of re-establishing unity. This meant that their approach had to be both strategic and empathetic, addressing the concerns of their allies while maintaining a clear focus on their mission objectives. As they set out to address the internal conflicts, Mara and Cale were keenly aware of the potential for further complications. The dynamics of loyalty and trust were delicate, and any missteps could exacerbate existing tensions or lead to new betrayals. They approached the task with a combination of caution and resolve, seeking to foster an environment where open communication and mutual respect could flourish. Their aim was to create a space where allies felt valued and heard, thereby strengthening the bonds of their coalition. The determination to overcome the tests of loyalty and conflicting interests only served to strengthen Mara and Cale's resolve. Each challenge they faced reinforced their commitment to their mission and their belief in the importance of their cause. The internal strife, while difficult, became a catalyst for growth and adaptation, pushing them to refine their strategies and improve their leadership. Their ability to persevere through these trials underscored their dedication to ensuring the safety of their kingdoms and the success of their mission. In the face of adversity, Mara and Cale's leadership was tested, but their focus remained steadfast. They understood that the stakes were high and that the future of their kingdoms depended on their ability to unify their allies and effectively counter the assassination plot. Their resolve was driven by a deep sense of responsibility and an unwavering commitment to their cause. As they navigated the complexities of internal betrayal and external threats, they drew strength from their shared purpose and the belief in the importance of their mission. With their determination as a guiding force, Mara and Cale pressed forward, ready to confront the challenges ahead. The process of rebuilding trust and unity was arduous, but they remained focused on their ultimate goal. Their resolve to overcome the internal strife and achieve their mission reflected their dedication to protecting their kingdoms and ensuring that the assassination plot was thwarted. Despite the obstacles, their unwavering commitment and strategic approach provided a beacon of hope for the future.